I paid for Grandma's nursing home for years. My uncle said, "You're only doing it for inheritance." I canceled all payments. Now Grandma lives with rotating relatives, and I donated the money to charity. Let me tell ya, family drama hits different when money's involved. No cap. So my grandma, sweetest lady you'll ever meet, she raised me after my parents split. When her health started going south, I was making decent money at my tech job, so putting her in Sunshine Valley Care Home was a no-brainer. We're talking $2,000 a month, but whatever, you know? She deserved the best. For 3 solid years, I'd roll up in my Subaru every Sunday with fresh flowers and those little Debbie cakes she loved. The staff knew me by name. "Here comes the good granddaughter," they'd say, and I'd just shrug it off. Wasn't doing it for the props. My Uncle Rick? Total different story. Dude showed up maybe twice a year, usually around Christmas or when he needed something. Typical Rick move. He was always between jobs, but somehow had cash for a new F-150 and weekend trips to Vegas. Meanwhile, I'm over here eating ramen to make sure Grandma's got her private room with the garden view she loves. Last Thanksgiving, we're all at my cousin's place. I'm helping in the kitchen, slicing up some Honeycrisp apples for the pie, when I overhear Rick talking to my aunt in the living room. "She's only doing it for the inheritance," he says, not even trying to keep his voice down. "That house in Maplewood's worth at least $400K now. Smart investment if you ask me." I froze with a knife mid-slice. For real? 3 years of visits, of holding her hand through pneumonia, of learning all her nurses' kids' names, and this dude thinks I'm playing the long game for a house? The room got mad quiet when I walked in. I just smiled, handed Rick a beer, and said, "Pass the remote? I think the Cowboys game is starting." That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Rick's smug face, about how everyone at dinner just sat there, not saying a word to defend me. By morning, I knew what I had to do. First call was to Sunshine Valley to cancel the automatic payments. Second call was to my bank to set up a donation to the Alzheimer's Association, the same amount I'd been paying for Grandma's care. Exactly 1 week later, my phone blew up. It was the nursing home director calling relatives, explaining that someone needed to either pick up Grandma or start making payments ASAP. Update. Y'all, I'm shook by the support. So many asking if Grandma knows what went down. She doesn't have the full story, and that's intentional. The nursing home called my uncle first since he's technically next of kin. Should I have warned Grandma before pulling the plug? The guilt is real, not gonna lie. The family group chat went crazy. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions. My phone was blowing up with notifications like it was black. Friday at Best Buy, then came the call from Uncle Rick. "What the hell are you doing?" he yelled before I could even say hello. I had to hold the phone away from my ear. The nursing home called. They want $1,700 by Friday or they're kicking Mom out. I was sitting on my balcony, watching the sunset with a white claw in hand, feeling strangely calm. "That's weird," I said, taking a sip. "Why would they call you about that?" "Because you canceled the payments. Are you out of your mind?" "No, just being practical. Since I'm only in it for the inheritance, I figured someone with purer motives should take over Grandma's care." The silence on the other end was so thick you could have spread it on toast. We don't have that kind of money," he finally said, voice all quiet now. "Find it," I replied, and hung up. For the next few days, I turned off notifications and binged Stranger Things. When I finally checked my messages, there were 3 voice notes from Rick, each one more desperate than the last. The final one just said, "We're picking her up on Saturday." And that's exactly what happened. My grandma now rotates between relatives' homes, 2 weeks at Rick's, 2 at my aunt's, and so on down the family line. Funny how they all suddenly found room in their houses and their budgets. They tried to put me on the rotation schedule too, but I just texted back, "Sorry, my motives aren't pure enough." Left them on red after that. Update. Thanks for all the love, Reddit fam. Many asking if I miss Grandma every single day. We still talk on the phone, but it's not the same. Uncle Rick's wife posts these "blessed to have Grandma with us" pics on Instagram, but Grandma looks lost in them. Did I do right by her or just prove a point at her expense? That thought keeps me up at night. The wildest part? None of them know about the donations. Every month, the exact amount that would have gone to Sunshine Valley gets split between the Alzheimer's Association and the Nursing Scholarship Fund at Grandma's old community college. I even got one of those big ceremonial checks made for my bedroom wall, not to show anyone, just to remind myself. Christmas rolled around, and the family gathering was at Rick's place this time. I almost didn't go, but Grandma called personally to ask me to come. "I miss your face," she said, "and how do you say no to that?" Walking into Rick's McMansion was awkward as hell. Everyone got real interested in their solo cups when I came through the door. Rick's wife was showing off their new Samsung TV, talking about some Black Friday deal like nothing had changed. I found Grandma in the sunroom, looking out at the backyard. She seemed smaller somehow, bundled up in a Target blanket even though the heat was cranked. "There's my girl," she said when she saw me, reaching for a hug. We talked for a while, catching up. She told me about her new routine, how Rick snores so loud she has to wear earplugs, how my aunt's cats keep her company during the day. "Are you happy, Grandma?" I asked, and immediately regretted it. Such a loaded question. She patted my hand. "I miss my friends at Sunshine Valley, and my window with the bird feeders." Then she leaned in close. "Between you and me, your uncle's cooking is terrible. I pretend to be asleep when he makes his famous chili." We both laughed, and for a second it felt like old times. Then she got serious. "But I understand about the money, sweetheart. These places are expensive, and family should help family." My stomach dropped. What had Rick told her? That I couldn't afford it anymore? That I'd abandoned her? Before I could ask, Rick appeared with a plate of ham. "Mom, you need to eat something," he said, barely looking at me. That's when I noticed how tired he looked. The bags under his eyes, the stained sweatpants, the way his hands shook slightly as he set down the plate. Taking care of Grandma wasn't just a financial burden, it was work. Hard, constant work that I'd been paying professionals to do. For a hot second, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Dinner was a special kind of torture. Everyone talking about safe topics, the Patriots season, the weather, some movie on Netflix. Grandma needed help cutting her food, and I watched as Rick did it automatically, without complaint. It was the first genuinely decent thing I'd seen him do. As I was leaving, Rick caught me at the door. He looked like he wanted to say something meaningful, maybe even apologize, but all that came out was, "She asks about you, a lot." I just nodded and stepped out into the cold. Update. Final thoughts, y'all. 6 months have passed and things have evolved. Uncle Rick actually reached out last week, no drama, just asking if we could talk. Said he gets it now, after months of 3 a.m. medication schedules and doctor appointments. Am I ready to forgive, or is this another manipulation? Family's complicated AF, but your comments helped me see some blind spots in my revenge plan. The thing about revenge is, it feels amazing in the moment. Like hitting a perfect three-pointer at the buzzer or finding $20 in your old winter jacket. But that feeling fades and then you're left with the aftermath. Don't get me wrong, I still think Rick needed that wake-up call. Dude had been skating by on everyone else's effort his whole life. But Grandma? She got caught in the crossfire. Last month I started visiting her regularly again. Not at Rick's, that bridge is still under construction, but I pick her up every Wednesday for lunch at Olive Garden. Unlimited breadsticks are her love language. During one of these lunches, she finally told me what happened from her perspective. One day, the nice director lady came to my room and said there was a payment issue, she explained, dunking a breadstick in soup. Next thing I know, Rick and your aunt are packing my things, saying I'm coming to stay with family now, she thought. It was a financial decision I'd made because times were tough. Rick had let her believe I couldn't afford it anymore, not that I'd chosen to stop paying. Part of me wanted to set the record straight, to tell her what he'd said, how he'd questioned my motives. But looking at her across the table, happily sorting her soup crackers by size like she used to do with my Halloween candy, I just couldn't. What good would it do except burden her with our drama? Instead, I asked if she wanted dessert. 2 chocolate lava cakes coming right up. The strangest twist? Last week, Rick called me out of the blue. Not to yell or guilt trip, but to ask if we could meet for coffee. We sat at Starbucks, both clutching our overpriced drinks like shields. He looked rough, man, like, hasn't slept? In a year, rough. I get it now, he said after an awkward silence. Why you were paying for the home. It wasn't about the money or the house or whatever stupid thing I said. I didn't help him out, just sipped my macchiato and waited. It's nonstop, he continued. The doctor's appointments, the medications, the special foods. Mom needs help with everything now. I had to drop to part-time at work. Lisa's talking about quitting her job entirely. That's what the nursing home staff was doing, I pointed out. That's what I was paying for. He nodded, looking down at his coffee. I know, I was an ass, a jealous, stupid ass. That admission hung between us. Was it enough? I wasn't sure. What do you want, Rick? I finally asked. I want to know if you'd consider helping again. Not taking her back full-time, he added, quickly. But maybe splitting the cost of in-home care? Or even... He trailed off. Even what? Even putting her back at Sunshine Valley. They have an opening next month. Your aunt and I could probably swing half the cost. Maybe the cousins could chip in too. I thought about it. About Grandma missing her friends and her window with the bird feeders. About the staff who knew her preferences and her history. I'll think about it, was all I said. And I have been thinking about it. A lot. The money I've been donating has done good work. The Alzheimer's Association even sent me a little plaque. But maybe there's a middle path here. Not because Rick deserves it. Not even because the family needs relief. But because Grandma deserves to be where she feels most at home. Surrounded by people trained to care for her. Last night, I called Sunshine Valley to ask about that opening. They remembered Grandma right away. The lady with the photo albums who loved birdwatching? Exactly right. I haven't told Rick my decision yet. Part of me wants to make him sweat a little longer, not gonna lie. But I've started a new spreadsheet, breaking down costs, calculating what each family member could reasonably contribute based on what I know about their finances. Even $5 a month shows they're invested. The spreadsheet has a special column labeled Rick's contribution. That's a bit higher than the others. Call it the jerk tax. As for Grandma's house, the supposed inheritance that started this whole mess, turns out she's been quietly donating to the local animal shelter for years. The house is going to them when she passes. None of us are getting it. When she told me this over breadsticks last Wednesday, I laughed so hard I snorted Sprite through my nose. The perfect karma. You're not upset? She asked, concerned. Grandma, I said, wiping my eyes. That's the best news I've heard all year. Some lessons cost more than others. For Rick, it was time, pride, and eventually cash. For me, it was realizing that doing the right thing sometimes means swallowing your pride and working with people who've hurt you. And for what it's worth, the family WhatsApp is actually civil these days. Someone even suggested a rotating Sunday dinner schedule. Baby steps. I still have that big ceremonial donation check on my wall, though, just as a reminder that sometimes the perfect response isn't what you say, it's what you do.